All right, buckle up for a deep dive, and we're spanning continents and industries today. We've got a whole stack of news here from, let's see, Bloomberg, Reuters, we've got the Financial Times, oh, and the Wall Street Journal, Politico. We even have Capital Brief and the New York Times.
Wow, quite the mix.
It is, right? We're talking, well, everything from accusations against a business titan to
Hmm.
a major bank making, well, a battery gamble. That didn't go so well.
It's fascinating to me. We're not just looking at isolated events here. These stories, whether it's India's renewable energy sector or the race for AI dominance, they're all like threads in a larger tapestry. Global finance, technology, and politics, it's all connected.
Okay, so let's start unpacking all of this, and I guess the best place to start is the human drama unfolding in India. You've probably heard about Gautam Adani, once Asia's richest man, now facing some serious heat.
No, indeed. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, they're looking into allegations of bribery and misleading investors.
Bribery and misleading investors. That's a serious combination.
Yeah. Specifically, they're accused of paying over 250 million U.S. dollars in bribes.
250 million.
Yeah, to Indian officials to secure those lucrative solar power contracts.
Solar power contracts, so in the renewable energy sector.
Exactly. And then on top of that, there are questions about whether they were, well, completely upfront with U.S. investors about compliance in a bond offering by Adani Green Energy. They raised 750 million U.S. dollars.
So what does this all mean for Adani and his empire? This has got to be more than just bad press, right?
Well, think about it. Adani Group shares, they've taken a nosedive. Banks are hesitant about extending credit. Contracts are being canceled left and right. And the political implications in India, those are significant as well. I mean, if these allegations, if they stick, it could have a real chilling effect on foreign investment in India's renewable energy sector. Investors might get spooked, wondering if similar issues are lurking beneath the surface in other projects.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not just about one company, it's about the entire ecosystem, right? Trust and transparency that's needed for these massive projects to succeed. And speaking of big bets, let's jump from India to Europe and talk about Goldman Sachs and their big battery burn.
Goldman Sachs and batteries, what's the connection?
Right, what is the connection?
Well, remember Northvolt.
Northvolt, remind me.
They were supposed to be Europe's champion in the electric vehicle battery market, going head-to-head with those Asian giants, big names, Volkswagen, Goldman Sachs. They poured money into them,
Yeah.
betting on their success.
Right, right. And it seemed like a sure thing. Electric vehicles, that's the future.
Absolutely. Whoever cracks the battery code, they're going to be, they're rolling in it.
So something went wrong.
Big time. Producing batteries at scale, it's harder than it looks. Northvolt, they ran into some production hiccups, overextended themselves with expansions in Germany and Canada. And eventually, well, they filed for bankruptcy. Goldman Sachs ended up taking a nearly 900 million US dollar hit.
Ouch. So what does this tell us about the electric vehicle revolution as a whole? Is this a sign that things are stalling out?
Not necessarily, but it does highlight the risks, the challenges involved. It's a bit of a wake-up call for investors who might have gotten caught up in the hype. Scaling up battery production to meet the demand of a global shift to electric vehicles. It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And it's going to require not just money, but technical expertise, and maybe a little bit of luck.
Okay, so we've seen some high stakes plays, both in renewable energy and battery tech, and both involve a certain level of risk. Now let's jump into another arena where the competition is fierce. Artificial intelligence. We've got Amazon throwing down another $4 billion US on Anthropic. It's an AI startup trying to take on the likes of OpenAI and Google.
Yeah, this move, it more than doubles Amazon's investment in Anthropic, bringing their total to a cool $8 billion.
Wow.
This is a pretty clear sign of how seriously they're taking this AI arms race.
It's like a high stakes poker game, each player raising the ante, but what are they even fighting for? What's the grand prize in this AI showdown?
Dominance, plain and simple. Think about the potential here. Personalized medicine, self-driving cars, even algorithms that can create art and music.
It's mind-blowing.
Whoever controls these technologies, they will have a huge advantage. in the coming decades.
Right.
And not just economically either.
Right, right. The potential impact on society, it's enormous.
Huh?
It's not all sunshine and roses though, is it? There are some serious concerns about how we ensure that this technology is used ethically and responsibly.
Absolutely. We're talking about potentially world-altering technology, and
Right.
we need to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. Algorithmic bias, job displacement, the potential for misuse. These are all issues that need to be addressed as AI develops.
Okay, so we've got these massive technological advancements happening, and at the same time, the political landscape is shifting, which can impact how these technologies are regulated, how they're developed. And speaking of politics, President-elect Trump's cabinet pick for Secretary of Agriculture, well, it's raising some eyebrows.
Brooke Rollins, a known Trump loyalist, she doesn't exactly have a deep background in agricultural policy.
Hmm.
This has a lot of people wondering about what this means for the future of U.S. farm policy,
Yeah.
especially with all this talk about potential tariffs.
The Department of Agriculture, it's not just about farmers.
Right.
It impacts everyone. We're talking food stamps, school lunches, trade agreements. It's a huge deal. So Rollins's lack of experience, it has some people worried.
It raises a question, doesn't it? How much weight should be given to loyalty versus expertise when it comes to these crucial appointments?
Yeah.
It's a balancing act, and the stakes are high.
Right. You need someone who understands the complexities of the agricultural industry
Yeah.
and can make informed decisions that impact not just farmers but consumers and the economy as a whole. And speaking of balancing acts, let's move on to the world of cryptocurrency, where things are getting, well, interesting to say the least.
Indeed, we're seeing some intriguing developments. That suggests crypto is becoming more intertwined with traditional finance. Take Cantor Fitzgerald, led by Howard Lutnick, who's also Trump's nominee for Commerce Secretary.
Right.
His firm is strengthening ties with Tether, the issuer of USDT, the
Yeah.
world's largest stablecoin.
Okay, for those who aren't, deep into the crypto world, what exactly is a stablecoin? It sounds like a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, you're right. It is a bit of a paradox. A stablecoin is a type of cryptocurrency
Hmm.
designed to maintain a stable value, usually pegged to a fiat currency like the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
So theoretically, it combines the benefits of crypto, like faster transactions, lower fees, with the stability of traditional currency.
So how does Cantor Fitzgerald fit into all of this? They're not exactly known for being crypto enthusiasts, are they?
This is where it gets interesting. Cantor is actually working with Tether to develop a Bitcoin-backed lending program, and they're aiming to make it a multi-billion-dollar operation. On top of that, Cantor, they manage Tether's U.S. Treasury custody, which brings in tens of millions for them annually. And they even own a 5% stake in Tether.
Wow. So it sounds like they're going all in on this partnership.
Yeah.
But Tether has had its share of controversies, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
There have been questions about their reserves, their transparency.
Right. There's always a degree of risk involved.
Hmm.
With crypto, especially stablecoins, it's a reminder that this is still a relatively new, evolving space, and regulation is struggling to keep up.
So what do you think this partnership means for the future of crypto? Is this a sign that Wall Street is finally embracing digital assets?
It's certainly a step in that direction. It suggests that major financial institutions are starting to see the potential of crypto, both as an investment opportunity and as a way to potentially disrupt traditional financial systems.
Okay, so we've got traditional finance dipping its toes into the crypto pool, but what about the other big challenge facing the world, climate change? Still very much on the agenda, and the recent COP29 summit in Baku, it saw some major developments on the climate finance front.
Yeah, the summit concluded with an agreement to increase the annual climate finance target to $300 billion by 2035. It's a significant jump from the previous target of $100 billion. The money it's meant to help developing nations adapt to the impacts of climate change,
Yeah.
and transition to low carbon economy.
That sounds like a big win, but I imagine not everyone is happy with the outcome. Is $300 billion enough to really move the needle on climate action?
That's the billion-dollar question, literally. Some argue that it's a step in the right direction, while others say it's nowhere near enough
Mm-hmm.
to address the scale of the crisis. And then there's the whole issue of accountability. How do we ensure that this money is used effectively and reaches the communities that need it most?
It's a complex issue, no doubt. And speaking of navigating a complex landscape, Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, he had some interesting things to say
Yeah.
about the importance of global collaboration in the tech sector.
Right. He's a big advocate for open science, for cooperation,
Right.
even amidst, rising geopolitical tensions and potential trade barriers. He believes that by working together, we can unlock the full potential of technology
Hmm.
to address global challenges like climate change.
It's a hopeful vision, but it's not without its challenges, right?
Yeah.
National interests and economic competition, they often get in the way of true collaboration.
Exactly, striking that balance between competition and cooperation. It's going to be crucial in the coming years, especially as technologies like AI become more powerful and pervasive.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've got corporate scandals, risky investments, the race for AI dominance, political maneuvering, the rise of crypto, and the ongoing struggle to finance climate action. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but here's the thing. These stories, they're not just isolated events. They're all interconnected, part of a larger system that's constantly evolving. And that's what makes this so fascinating. It's not about predicting the future. It's about understanding the forces that are shaping it.
All right, so we've set the stage, laid out some of the key players, but the deep dive isn't over yet. We'll be back in the next part to explore even more intriguing stories and uncover those hidden connections that can help us make sense of this complex and ever-changing world.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've just scratched the surface of how global finance, technology, and politics, well, they're all intertwined, right?
And now we're going to zoom in on a story that highlights how government incentives they can have a big impact
Uh,
on shaping industries, especially when it comes to the clean energy transition.
Think about Australia for a second. They're sitting on a wealth of natural resources, and they've made a big commitment to renewable energy.
Right, and now they're taking another big step. They're putting, I mean, a whopping 13.7 billion US dollars on the table
Wow.
in the form of tax credits to
Yes.
boost production
Yeah.
of critical minerals and hydrogen.
This is a really strategic move. As you know, critical minerals, they're essential for all sorts of clean energy technologies, electric vehicle batteries, solar panels, wind turbines. I mean, you name it.
So Australia is basically saying, come invest here. We're making it easier, more profitable to produce the building blocks of a low carbon future.
Exactly. They're offering a 10% tax credit
Mhm.
for critical minerals processing. And then on top of that, a juicy uh, $2 per kilogram incentive for hydrogen production. That's a pretty sweet deal for companies looking to get into this space.
It's a fascinating example of a government using financial levers to try and steer the economy in a certain direction. But I'm sure there are there are different opinions about whether this is the right approach.
Oh, absolutely. There's always a debate when governments try to pick winners and losers in the market. Some folks are arguing that this is just a handout for big corporations, for wealthy investors. They're calling it billions for billionaires.
It's a valid concern. You always have to think about who benefits the most from these kinds of policies.
Right, and whether the cost outweigh the benefits. But on the other hand, proponents, they argue that this is about creating jobs,
Hmm.
attracting investment, and accelerating progress towards a clean energy future.
So it's a complex issue with no easy answers. It's a balancing act, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Speaking of balancing acts, let's shift gears and revisit a familiar face. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, he recently received an honorary doctorate from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And his message was, it was all about the importance of global collaboration in the tech sector.
Now, this is interesting because it comes at a time when the incoming Trump administration they're talking about tighter export controls, especially on those advanced computing products that NVIDIA is known for.
Right. So there's this tension building between national interests and the need for global cooperation in tech. But Huang, he remains optimistic. He believes that the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of innovation, it will ultimately trump political obstacles.
He's basically saying that the desire to push the boundaries of technology, it'll be stronger than any political barriers that try to get in the way. He's a big believer in the power of open science, shared knowledge.
It's a refreshing perspective,
Yeah.
especially in a world where we often see competition and rivalry driving uh, driving tech development.
Yeah.
He's saying we're all in this together. We need to work together to solve global challenges like climate change.
It's a powerful message, and it ties back to that idea of a shared future that we
Uh-huh.
talked about earlier. But I'm curious, do you think this vision of global collaboration is it realistic given the current geopolitical climate?
Well, it's certainly facing some headwinds. We're seeing a rise in nationalism
Yeah.
and protectionist policies,
Yeah.
which can make collaboration more difficult.
Right. Countries want to protect their own industries, their own interests, and that can create friction
Wow.
when it comes to sharing knowledge, sharing resources. But on the other hand, you could argue that the scale of challenges like climate change, it demands a global response.
Absolutely, it's going to require a balancing act,
Yeah.
finding ways to cooperate, while also protecting national interests. It's not going to be easy, but it's essential.
All right, so we've got this tension playing out
Yeah.
between collaboration and competition on the global stage.
Yeah.
And speaking of competition, let's circle back to Goldman Sachs and their big battery bet that went sour.
This is a story about the human cost
Yeah.
of economic turmoil and the challenges of building a sustainable future.
We talked earlier about Northvolt, the Swedish battery maker that filed for bankruptcy, leaving Goldman Sachs with a hefty write-off. But there's more to this story
Yeah.
than just financial losses.
Right. This isn't just about numbers on a balance sheet. Think about the people who lost their jobs, the investors who saw their savings evaporate, and the setback for the development of a crucial technology.
It's a reminder that the clean energy transition, it's not just about technological innovation. It's also about people, livelihoods, communities.
And it highlights the risks involved in
Huh.
investing in new technologies. It's always a gamble, and sometimes those gambles they don't pay off.
So this Northvolt story, it's a bit of a cautionary tale, right?
In a way, yes. It shows that even the biggest, the most sophisticated investors, they can get it wrong. But it's also important to remember that the progress isn't always, linear. There will be setbacks. There will be failures along the way. But that doesn't mean we should give up on the goal of a more sustainable future.
Okay, so we've got these big aspirations for a clean energy future, but there are also risks and challenges along the way. And one of those challenges is figuring out how to finance this transition, which brings us back to the COP29 summit and the debate over climate
Right.
finance.
We talked earlier about the agreement to increase the annual climate finance
Yeah.
target to $300 billion by 2035. But the question remains, is that enough? And how will this money be distributed? How will it be used effectively?
It's a complex issue that involves a lot of different stakeholders. You've got developed nations who are being asked to contribute more, developing nations who are on the front lines of climate change, and a whole range of organizations and initiatives
Right.
working on climate solutions.
And there's a fundamental question of fairness, of responsibility. Developed nations have contributed the most to historical greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
So there's a moral argument that they should bear a greater share of the costs.
But at the same time, developing nations, they're often the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. So they need the most support. It's a delicate balancing act.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the amount of money. It's about how it's used. We need to make sure that these funds are directed towards projects that are truly effective in reducing emissions and helping communities adapt to a changing climate.
All right, so we've got this complex web of financial flows and competing interests, and then you throw in the rise of cryptocurrencies, which adds another layer of disruption to the mix.
Remember the partnership we discussed
Huh.
between Cantor Fitzgerald and Tether. And
Yeah.
it's a sign that crypto is becoming more and more intertwined
Mm.
with traditional finance.
Mhm.
And it's raising a lot of questions about the future of money.
Right, you've got this new form of digital currency that's challenging the established financial system, and you've got major players like Cantor Fitzgerald who
Yeah.
are trying to figure out how to navigate this new landscape.
It's a fascinating dynamic. On one hand, you have the potential for crypto to create a more inclusive, more decentralized financial system. But on the other hand, there are concerns
Yeah.
about volatility, about regulation, the potential for misuse.
And it's all happening against the backdrop of geopolitical tensions
Right.
and economic uncertainty. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a roller coaster.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the story of Gautam Adani and the accusations of bribery and misleading investors.
Right. This isn't just a corporate scandal. It's a story about the intersection of money, of power, and of ethics.
The allegations against Adani, they've shaken India's business community and raised questions about corporate governance
Yeah.
in emerging markets.
And it's become a political issue as well, with accusations of corruption, of cronyism being leveled at the highest levels of government.
The outcome of this case will have, I mean, far-reaching consequences, not just for Adani and his companies, but for India's reputation as an investment destination.
It's a stark reminder that ethical behavior, transparency, these are essential for building a sustainable, a prosperous future, both for individual companies and for entire nations.
It also highlights the importance of holding powerful individuals and powerful institutions accountable, regardless of their wealth or their connections.
So we've covered a lot of ground in the second part of our deep dive. We've explored the role of government incentives in shaping industries, the importance of global collaboration in the tech sector, the challenges of climate finance, the growing influence of cryptocurrencies, and the fall of a corporate titan.
What's striking is how these stories, which might seem unrelated at first glance, they're all interconnected, highlighting the complex interplay of forces shaping our world.
But we've seen the promise and the peril of technological advancement, the complexities of navigating global challenges, and the importance of ethical behavior and transparency in both the public and private sectors.
And now, as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we'll attempt to tie all these threads together and explore the bigger picture. What does it all mean for the future we're creating?
Stay tuned as we delve deeper and uncover the hidden connections that shape our world.
Okay, so we've journeyed from India's solar fields to Silicon Valley, from, the halls of government to the crazy world of cryptocurrency.
It's been quite a ride.
It has, hasn't it? And now it's time to connect the dots, try and see the bigger picture.
What strikes me is how often we view finance and technology and politics as like separate things.
Right.
But as we've seen, they're deeply intertwined. Decisions made in boardrooms and political chambers, they have ripple effects, impacting innovation, impacting investment, even the fight against climate change.
Think about the stories we've discussed. The Adani saga, the Goldman Sachs battery burn, the race for AI dominance. I mean, they all involve massive sums of money, calculated risks, and the potential to reshape entire industries.
And it's not just about the numbers either.
Right. Behind the headlines are real people whose lives are being impacted by these decisions. The farmers whose livelihoods are affected by trade wars, the entrepreneurs pushing the boundaries of AI, the communities struggling to adapt to a changing climate. Their stories they're woven into this tapestry.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the abstract when we talk about global finance or technological advancements, but ultimately it boils down to how these forces, how they shape the lives of everyday people.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations,
Yeah.
to shine a light on these complex issues, to analyze them, to debate them,
Yeah.
and ultimately to hold those in power accountable.
Transparency and informed decision making, they're crucial.
Yeah.
Whether it's a government investing of billions in clean energy, a tech giant developing powerful AI, or a financial institution navigating the world of crypto. I mean, the choices made, they have ripple effects that we all need to be aware of.
We've seen how government incentives can shape entire industries, like in Australia's push to become a critical minerals powerhouse.
Yeah.
We've seen how global collaboration, even in the face of geopolitical tensions, can be a driving force for innovation, like Jensen Huang argues.
Yeah, but we've also seen the potential downsides. I mean, the Northvolt bankruptcy, It's a reminder that even the most promising technologies, they come with risks. And the Adani scandal, it highlights the dangers
Yeah.
of corruption, of a lack of transparency.
So where does this leave us? What have we learned from this deep dive into the forces shaping our world?
Well, for one, it's clear that the world is becoming, well, increasingly complex and interconnected.
Okay.
The lines between finance, technology, and politics, they're blurring,
Yeah.
and the pace of change is accelerating.
This presents both, challenges and opportunities. It's a world where adaptability, critical thinking, and a willingness to embrace new ideas, those be essential skills.
And it's a world where understanding the forces at play, the motivations of the key players, and the potential consequences of decisions made in distant boardrooms and government offices, it'll be more important than ever.
Yeah, we've seen how a single event like the Adani scandal can send shockwaves through the global economy. We've seen how technological advancements like AI can disrupt industries and create, both excitement and anxiety. And we've seen how the fight against climate change demands unprecedented levels of global cooperation and financial commitment.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with the challenge. Don't just passively consume the news. Engage with it. Question assumptions. Connect the dots and seek out diverse perspectives.
Become an active participant in shaping the future
Yeah.
because it's not something that happens to us. It's something we create together.
And remember, the world is full of fascinating stories, hidden connections,
Mhm.
and unexpected twists and turns. So stay curious, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions.
That's what makes the journey so rewarding.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.